Recently, I wrote a script for PCAM for a short video that we're intending to make on budgeting and fees. And interestingly, since I wrote that only a week ago, there's been a lot of online debate on social media amongst composers about charging for work, how one justifies one's charges, what constitutes a good fee, what's not enough, and what's reasonable, what's not reasonable. And so I thought that although I've done this thing for PCAM specifically geared towards commercials, I might try and do a little hack thing myself. I've never done this before, and this is that hack thing about maybe an interesting way or a simple way of going about thinking about what you cost and how you justify it. So I thought I'd start by showing you this. One moment. One second. Right, so this is my studio. It's very nice. I'm very pleased with it. It works very well. I didn't switch it on, so you can't see all the little lights, but I'm sure you understand that they all work. And it's in a nice setting, and I put it together a while ago with some help, and it's fully soundproofed. It's a floating room. It's got etc. All the things a studio needs to have. And this studio, I charge at what I consider to be extremely reasonable rate of £50 an hour. So that's my studio. And when I am in it working, I charge myself out at £60 an hour, which I think is very fair and compares very reasonably with a lawyer, an accountant, a plumber. I don't even charge call-out fees, and most other working professionals with skill. So that's £50 an hour for my studio and £60 an hour for me. And for the sake of doing a simple budget, basically that means for £110 an hour, you get me in a room doing everything that I can personally do myself. That means programming, playing instruments, editing, writing to picture or not to picture. So basically, okay, we've got a thumbnail idea of what a day in my studio with me costs. 8-hour day, 4 6s, 6 8s, 48. So I'm 480 quid a day, my studio is 400. That's £880 a day for me and my studio. And I should point out, if it's not my studio, it's going to be another studio, and most studios like this will go out for considerably more than I'm going to charge. And equally, if I'm working in somebody else's studio, paying more money, I'm less likely to be as fully productive because it's not an environment that I'm as well accustomed to as I am the one that I'm sitting in right now. So £880 a day gets me in my studio. So how much music can I write in a day if I'm working to picture? Realistically, it depends, obviously, on the complexity of the production. If I'm doing lots of stuff that requires minute editing, lots of layering, lots of instrumentation, and the cuts to picture are complex and the picture, etc., etc., etc. So realistically, I think it's feasible to do 2 to 3 minutes a day written and recorded to picture, which means in my case, if I'm £880 a day, let's call it 900 for the sake of mathematical simplicity, and I'm doing 3 minutes, then my music comes out at costing £300 a minute scored to picture. So if I am presented with, let's say, a documentary, a 60-minute documentary, and I have a discussion with the director and the production team about how much music they think they're going to want, and they say, well, we're going to need, it's going to be 15, 20 minutes. So I can go away and think, right, okay, is it 15 or 20 minutes of stuff that I can do just sitting in this room on my own actually doing it? In which case, if it's 20 minutes at £300 a minute, that's £6,000. On the other hand, there are things that I can't do. A lot of things I can't do. So, for example, if they want something that is a Baroque string quartet, I'm not going to be able to deliver that in a way which is really professional and convincing. So I'm going to have to actually organise a Baroque string quartet to do that, or maybe 1 or 2 players who between them can do a Baroque string quartet, and I'm going to have to pay them session fees. And so I calculate what those session fees are. It's not rocket science. one of the things I think is problematic, and somebody sent me numbers that the MU have produced for this, and you know the MU clearly what they've done is an attempt to find out what a minute of music costs in various idioms, be it feature film or drama documentary or promo or whatever it may be. They've sent out a questionnaire and said, you know, how much do you charge? And what they've done is they've taken a list of numbers that people have given them, and average that out to say, oh well, if it's a drama, if it's a TV drama, it averages out at 450 or 500 pound a minute or whatever it may be. That's all very well and potentially has its purposes, but it doesn't really give you a basis for budgeting. What you need to know is, what is this production going to require? Can I deliver it all me sitting in my room doing my thing on my own, in which case the calculation which I started out with is what applies? Or am I going to need things that I can't actually do myself in terms of musical ensembles, a room that is therefore bigger than this one in order to put them in, to record them, etc., etc. And so really it's a question of breaking things down. I think unfortunately we seem to be in a situation where people look at a headline number and go, ooh, that seems very cheap, or wow, that seems really great, without actually knowing how they're going to break it down to see what it really looks like. So that's my 10 penneth. Obviously, that really is kind of budgeting 101. But you know, if you're a dentist, if you're a lawyer, I had an exchange with somebody this morning saying, "Oh, there's an awful lot of royalty-free music out there, you know, and it's really good now. And you know, how can we justify ourselves?" Well, we can justify ourselves. We are working professionals. We are providing a bespoke service. If I bought a suit from off the peg, I wouldn't expect to pay as much for it as if I went to a tailor who fitted it personally for me. And the same applies to music. Nobody is going to pretend that commissioning original music for a production is the cheap option. Of course, it's not. It's an expensive option, but it's the best option, and that's why it's expensive. You can get library music, you can get royalty-free music, and you can stick it on your production, and maybe that's going to work for you fine. But if you want something bespoke, clearly, as in any other area of commerce or society, you have to pay a premium to get bespoke. Okay, this is the first of my little ad hoc rambles to my iPhone, so I may do some more, and who knows, I may even get to edit them into some sort of presentable shape, in which case I'll put them up on social media. But for now, happy music making, and boogie on.